Good morning, agents, and welcome to another daily episode of Target Loot today for Thursday, December 24th, and Merry Christmas Eve. In this series, we cover a lot. We got the Target Loot map, Dark Zone exclusives you could farm for, highlights from the weekly vendor resets, and of course, build and farming suggestions as well. I'm Shadow Gaming, and if you enjoy this video, consider pressing those subscribe and like buttons below, and remember to comment below as well if you have any questions whatsoever. Otherwise, let's get this video started. Alright, agents, so starting off with the Dark Zones and of course vendor reset highlights, which are always in that big bottom left overlay that pops up right now. Now, really all that I recommend picking up this week would be in DZ East. Now, over in DZ East vendor, we do have a claws out holster, which is definitely worth picking up. You know, it's a DZ exclusive that you don't have to farm for anymore if you just buy it this week for 152 DZ resources. Now moving on to the normal targeted loot, unfortunately for the Dark Zones, you know, for DZ West we got Negotiator's Dilemma, which is great. I'll put a double LMG build in the top right card now that utilizes 4 pieces of Negotiator's Dilemma, the Coyote Mask, and Grupo Sombro gloves. It's great with the Pestilence. You can get your damage tick a little over or under 1 million per tick, which is great, but I normally don't recommend farming in the Dark Zone because the loot quality is usually pretty low, but for gear sets, it's something that you could still do. Now over in DZ South, we got Richter and Kaiser, and around the holdings over here in DZ East. There's no Dark Zone exclusives whatsoever for both of these. And of course for Negotiator's Dilemma as well. And in this video series, I always try to make it clear I only cover Dark Zone exclusives you could farm for because, you know, that's the only thing worthwhile in my opinion to go in the Dark Zone for. So now let's go check out what we got on the north side. Alright, agents, over here on the north side, targeted loot highlights. Starting off with Camp White Oak, we got aces and eights. This is a great headshot damage gear set. What I do is I mix 3 pieces of aces and eights, 2 pieces of Geraldo Holding, 1 being a backpack with vigilance or composure, and the chain killer chest piece with perfect headhunter. Throw a mantis as your primary, weapon on it, and you're going to get usually about 20 million a headshot when you chain those together. It's amazing for legendaries and heroic content, solo and in group. Next up, we do have light machine guns at Manny National Zoo. You got 2 exotic LMGs to farm for, so that's going to be the Bullet King and the Pestilence. The Bullet King has a little bit lower base damage, but you never have to reload it. And then, of course, the Pestilence, like I said, over in the Dark Zones, you can get that damage tick to over 1 million on some builds, even a little bit under 1 million. But it does take 6 seconds or so to reload the weapon. But with that golden bullet event, I would highly recommend using it as well. And of course, you could throw braced or weapon handling all over the talents and gear, if you just want to chill it out a little bit. Kinley College is closed, of course, and then, of course, the Summit, you pick your own targeted loot. So let's go check out what we got on the west side now. Alright, agents, now we're over here on the west side targeted loot highlights, starting off with the gear sets. Hardwired at the Pentagon, I just don't recommend farming for anymore. In lieu of that, I would farm Rigger over here at Lincoln Memorial. Now, real quick, you can put together that old 3-piece hardwired, 2-piece Hanayu, 1-piece Wyvernware with kinetic momentum or glass cannon, and the force multiplier backpack with perfect combined arms for your turret and drone build. But what I do recommend is my new skill damage build, just because it puts out so much more damage, and it's, pretty easy to put together anyway. You got 3 pieces of Empress, and then of course 2 pieces of Hanayu, or 1-piece Hanayu, 1-piece Wyvernware, with the waveform holster, the capacitor, and then the Harmony rifle, the card custom pistol, with the assault turret and striker drone. It puts you up at about 270, 280k per turret. The drone, I can't remember exactly how much it does, but it does a lot. And now, of course, for Rigger at Lincoln Memorial, this is very worth it because it's for deployable skills. Even if you change your target on another NPC or player, it does actually activate the 4-piece talent for the Rigger gear set. On top of that, it gives you instant cooldowns anytime you cancel or destroy a skill, which Hardwired used to do until they changed it to 30 seconds down from a cooldown. So I just don't think Hardwire is worth it anymore whatsoever. Next up, we got Hunter's Fury at West of Atomic Park. I will put my favorite Hunter's Fury build in the top right card now. That's going to be 4 pieces of Hunter's Fury, the Death Grip gloves, and then, of course, the Memento backpack. That thing shreds through content, solo and in group, and in heroic content as well, because it gives you that extra 10% armor on kill from the Death Grips. But as an alternative, what I would recommend is 4 pieces of Hunter's Fury, a Sokolov chest with Intimidate or Obliterate, Obliterate being my favorite, and the Memento backpack. I always rock it with the Dark Winter and the Scorpio shotgun for both of those builds as well. Next up, we got Ongoing Directive at Roosevelt Island. Great bleed damage build you could farm for here, actually 2. One being if you have the Ridgeways Pride, mix that with 4 pieces of Ongoing Directive and the Anarchist Cookbook with Perfect Wicked, or just a backpack with Wicked on it. Or you could put 4 pieces of Ongoing Directive together with a Badger Tough backpack with Creeping Death, and then of course the Vile Mask running the Scorpio. Last gear set I see a Strikers at Potomac Event Center. Like I always say, I recommend 3 pieces for increased rate of fire and weapon handling on a Merciless build. Otherwise, 4 pieces I just do not think is worth it. After doing all the math over the past year that Strikers has been out, or however long, it just never is worth it versus an all high-end build, or mix, Hunter's Fury or True Patriot. So I just never recommend more than 3 pieces and only use it for rate of fire and weapon handling. Moving on to normal targeted loot, we got assault rifles at Downtown West. There's 2 exotic assault rifles, the Capacitor and then the Chameleon with Adaptive Instincts. Both of those are great DPS weapons, but the Capacitor is almost mandatory for any skill damage build now. It'll give you over 60%, well actually 60% skill damage and 45% weapon damage at the same time fully stacked. Now for named assault rifles, I recommend the new Test Subject with Perfectly in Sync, the Mechanical Animal of Future Perfection, the Burnout named FAMAS, and the Maniac named Military AKM. Moving on to Overlord at Bake HQ, this is where you can farm those Fox's pair of knee pads with 8% damage to targets out of cover. I think this is something that every agent should have in their stash or inventory on one of their DPS builds for sure. That damage to targets out of cover is one of the best attributes you can have in this game. For instance, my Dark Winter, I purposely put 10% damage to targets out of cover on the 3rd attribute slot. It's better than the crit hit damage. So always keep that in mind. Next up, we got Empress at the White House. Remember, 10% skill efficiency is the 3rd piece bonus. Now, 10% skill efficiency is equivalent to 10% of skill haste, skill damage, skill repair, skill duration, 10% status effects, 10% skill health. So it's always worth running. And if you mix it with a Memento backpack, the only thing else that comes with skill efficiency, it is very, very deadly. You also can get the Caesar's Guard chest piece with, I believe, Perfectly Calculated, and then the backpack battery pack, which comes with Perfectly Skilled, and I think those are reversed actually. Next up, we got Mask at Constitutional Hall. There's 2 exotic masks, the Coyotes for DPS and the Vile Mask for status effects and skill damage. And then, of course, you can farm for the Punch Drunk Mask, which gives you 20% extra headshot damage baked right into the 2nd slot. But I would rather, farm Douglas and Harding, because I always recommend farming the brand, not the type, but you can still get it from farming targeted loot masks. Next up, we got Bellstone Armory at Foggy Bottom. You can farm for the Everyday Carrier or Perfectly Efficient, but I just never really recommend it because I've never used it. I remember the Liquid Engineer backpack with Perfect Bloodsucker is a Dark Zone exclusive, so you're going to have to wait for Bellstone or backpacks to be a targeted loot in the DZs. Last thing I'm going to mention is Walker Harrison Co. with DARPA Research Labs. You could farm for that Train Killer chest piece with Perfect Headhunter on it, which I believe is basically mandatory for any headshot damage build. You could run Braced, to handle weapon recoil and all that good stuff. Just weapon handling in general, but I would highly recommend Chain Killer on any headshot damage build. Other than that, that's all I'm really going to recommend for the west side. Now let's go move on and check out what we got on the east side. Alright agents, now we're over here on the east side targeted loot highlights. First off with the gear sets, we got Future Initiative at District Union Arena, which is a great healer set. But remember, keep this in mind, the chest and backpack are still Iron Horse raid exclusive. You can only get them through the Iron Horse raid. In lieu of that, what I would do is get an Alp Summit chest piece and backpack with Safeguard on the backpack and Empathetic Resolve on the chest piece. It's just about as good, maybe even better. Next up, we got Eclipse Protocol at Viewpoint Museum. My favorite fire damage build is definitely going to be 4 pieces of Eclipse Protocol, and then of course the Imperial Dynasty holster, and then 1 piece of Golan gear. It's great for solo, it's great for group, it's great for heroic and legendary, great status effect build overall, and fire damage build. And it looks like lastly we got True Patriot at Southwest. Now True Patriot is one of my favorite gear sets, like I always tell you guys, and I'll put my favorite True Patriot SMG build in the top right card now. That is 4 pieces of True Patriot, the Memento backpack, and a Sokolov chest with Intimidate on it, running the Lady Death and the Mop with 10% armor on kill. Or you can now run the Scorpio with the Dark Winter, or a Vector with Killer on it. Moving on to normal targeted loot, we got Petrov at Aerospace Museum. Now this is where you can farm that Contractor's Gloves with 8% damage to armor, which is great for any LMG build or stacking damage to armor. Real quick, I'll mention backpack target loot at Capitol Building Stronghold. You can farm the Memento backpack and the Acosta's Go backpack. Those are the two exotic backpacks in this game. But if you haven't gotten the Memento from the Season 3 track reward, remember to do this. Now, right here is the Season 4 rewards track, and if you get to level 58, you permanently unlock the Season 1 Prime Target mission, and then of course, as you go through, you get permanently unlocked Season 2 Prime Target mission. And then, of course, this is the one you want for the Memento backpack, the permanently unlocked Season 3 Prime Target mission. I believe at that point, it does actually give you the Memento backpack as a reward, so just grind through the seasons. Or you could just farm backpack targeted loot. Either way, that is how you get the Memento backpack. Next up, we got Providence Defense, the Federal Triangle. Now, this is where you can farm that Sacrifice with Perfect Glass Cannon. Definitely worth it on any skill damage build, or of course, any DPS build. I don't like Glass Cannon in my opinion. I really like the Obliterate and Intimidate talents, but, to each his own. Next up, we got holsters over here at Jefferson Trade Center. 3 exotic holsters in this game. Almost forgot. We got Waveform, which is very, very worth it for skill damage builds. And then, of course, you got the Dodge City holster and the Imperial Dynasty holster. All three of those are very worth farming for, especially that Waveform and the Imperial Dynasty holster for sure. For a named holster that does drop outside of the Dark Zone, you can get the Forge, which gives you 50% extra shield health. That is equivalent to a whole extra skill tier with the shield health. But of course, the Claws Out could be better for you, so definitely check that DZ East vendor this week. Next up, we got submachine guns at Judiciary Square. There's 3 exotics. We got the Lady Death, the Backfire, and the Chatterbox. And if I have enough cards, I'll put how to get the Chatterbox video in the top right card now. Otherwise, keep in mind that the Dark Winter and the Apartment are Dark Zone exclusives. Now, if anyone's ever gotten it to drop from an NPC outside of the Dark Zone, please send me screenshot proof. Otherwise, I don't believe that it's possible. Otherwise, I do recommend some named SMGs that do drop outside of the Dark Zone from an NPC, and that's going to be the Safety Distance with Perfect Outsider and the Grudge with Perfect Vindictive. Both of those are actually really good. And last but not least, we got shotgun targeted loot at Downtown East. Now, of course, there's 2 exotic shotguns in this game now. The Sweet Dreams with the Sandman talent and the Scorpio with Septic Shock. Now, everyone should probably know by now that the Scorpio is an absolute beast in the field, especially with Hunter's Fury or the Eclipse Protocol. And of course, Sweet Dreams, one-hit kill any red or purple bar enemy, as long as it's every 15 seconds. So it's usually good for skill builds, but I never use it for skill builds either. Now, for the 3 best shotguns in the game, I highly recommend getting the Mop with 10% armor on kill, the Custom M870, and the Marine Super 90, and I roll close and personal on them. Otherwise, that's about it that I'm going to have to recommend for the east side. Let's go now check out what we got in New York City targeted loot highlights. Alright, agents, last but not least, we got New York City targeted loot highlights. Starting off with the gear sets, we do have Foundry Bulwark, a Stranded Tanker, a great tank build, but the chest and backpack are Iron Horse raid exclusive, so keep that in mind. Just like Future Initiative, but this is a tank build to just tank absurd amounts of damage, especially in raids and legendaries, and that's about it. Next up, for normal targeted loot, we got Badger Tough over here in the 2 bridges area. This is where you could farm the 0F's chest piece with Perfect Unbreakable, which is amazing for DPS hybrid builds, and add some survivability to yourself, but you take away Obliterate or Intimidate, talents which give you extra weapon damage. Next up, we got knee pads over here at the tombs. Now, there's 2 exotic knee pads in this game, Ninja Bike Messenger's knee pads and Sawyer's knee pads. Ninja Bike being for DPS, and Sawyer's I'd put on a sniper build or just, a skill damage build probably, or tank build. And then next up, we do have Douglas and Harding at Battery Park. So this is where I would farm for that Punch Drunk Mask with 20% headshot damage baked into it, but you can also farm Mask as well. Last one I'm going to mention is Gloves targeted loot at Financial District. You could farm those BTSU exotic gloves that grant overcharge to all teammates that are skill tier 6, which is actually extremely useful if everyone's running, all skill builds. So that's something worth getting for sure. Alright, agents, well, that was the targeted loot for today. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to subscribe, like, and share if you enjoyed my content. If you'd like to become a member of my channel, you can click the join button below for, extra support, exclusive perks. It really helps me out, and shout out to all 5 of my members. Thank you so much, guys, for the extra help. Of course, I have Shadow Gaming merchandise and all sorts of other stuff, and I'm on different platforms. You can check out all the links in the video description, and of course, pinned comments below. Otherwise, take care, agents, and be sure to stay tuned for more daily Division 2 content. This is Shadow Gaming signing off. I will see you in the next video. Take care, agents, and happy holidays.